Is that Marshland's Full Trust, isn't it? Yes. You. Thank you for coming along a bit earlier because it's filled in a little gap that we had. So we'll fire you in now. That's brilliant. Good to see you.
Tēnā koutou. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to our annual plan submission this morning. My name is Sian Ruth and this is Adele Mitchell, and we have Joanne Noble-Nesbitt and Lila Mitchell helping. So Adele, Joanne and myself, we are three of the trustees of the Marshland Hall Trust.
We're here today to ask to work in partnership with Council on our project. This will be a community-led and run project, but we cannot move forward until we purchase the land. Whilst you may be aware that we do have funds of our own, we've been advised by grant funders that we cannot use these funds to purchase the land, as that will then leave us with no funds for the project itself. And they cannot then provide us with grants. Effectively, we must keep our funds to be used on the building itself to ensure that we have access to grant funding. We're asking that 1.3 million be allocated under the annual plan so that the trust may purchase the land.
There is definitely a need for this facility. Council have already identified a need in the Community Network Facilities Plan for a community facility in the northeast of Christchurch, which is where we are located. There's strong support for the facility, including our local school, community and sporting groups. So we know that demand for the facility will be high. We keep talking about community, and it's important to remember that a large proportion of this community are displaced residents from the red zone or the wider east side of Christchurch, who are still trying to rebuild their sense of community. We have had feedback from a number of new residents who tell us that they live there but don't yet feel part of a community like they did in the red zone. The new facility will provide a meeting place to facilitate that coming together.
Whilst unable to secure the land, we've been busy raising our profile in the community and working on smaller fundraising projects. We held a very successful community day in November last year with over 1,000 people attending, including local resident Olympian Tom Walsh for the gumboot throwing competition. Feedback has been very positive and we have secured this year's date. This will be an annual event. Further smaller fundraising events are planned.
We are very keen to get this project underway, but until we get the land, the project cannot get any momentum. And that is why we are asking you for your assistance now. Thank you for your time. Any questions? Thank you. And we hope you like the cupcakes.
Bribery will get you everywhere.
Absolutely.
That's lovely. Kelly, I'm sure has got some questions. Have you, Kelly?
Thank you, ladies. Fantastic presentation. Could you talk a little bit about the number of people that are living in this particular area and how many there were 8 years ago after the earthquakes?
I suppose, if you talk to some of the long-term residents of the Marshland district, they'll tell you it has changed hugely. 8 to 10 years ago, there weren't that many residents in the area, but since then, we've had Preston's Park, there's the Limes. So there's probably, we've gone from very few houses to about at least 2,000 new houses in that period of time. So you're looking probably at least 5,000 new residents in the area that are looking to have a facility to use, to come together. And I think we found that too when we had the community day, just the number of people that came through.
As well as a brand new school that's basically overflowing, and that school cannot house their entire school in their hall, and they cannot at one time, so they cannot have whole school assemblies, they cannot have a production, they have to stagger their events, so they're very supportive.
Excellent. And so your plans for the facility, what's it going to look like is in terms of the different activities that will be
Yeah, so
done
the
there,
basis,
and also tenants. You know, do you have tenants?
yeah, so the basis is going to be a full-size court, of which you will have seen there is a big lack across Christchurch of indoor court facilities. We have New Zealand Wheelchair Rugby very interested in making a base. Canterbury Basketball are crying out for courts. They're very interested. The school is obviously interested in using it as a facility. That's Marshland's primary school. And we are talking with lots of local community groups who are very interested. So it's almost like if we build it, they will come.
We also have the likes of Parafed Canterbury,
Yes.
who are very keen to be involved. And there are other community groups that provide amazing programs that are also talking to us to say, you know, is this a possible home for them, which would work for both groups.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Sam, who doubles as a cupcake tester.
I think I've tested far too
And
many
I'm
cupcakes
sure
since my
if you're going to have a cafe down there, it will go very well.
I will live there. I just wonder, and it may be something, Kelly, we talk about offline. I just wonder if there's any other land in the area that, and it's probably a question that is there any other land that that you've identified that may be suitable or is surplus to requirements?
We initially looked to see if we could actually build on the domain, the Marshland domain, which is council-owned land, but we got told basically that no, they would not allow any more buildings on that land, which is why we then had to look around to see what was available. The benefit of the land that we've identified is it's right next to the domain. It's on a slice of land that is owned by the developer of Preston's Park.
Yeah.
So
So
the downside is we're going to have to pay for it.
how much land are you looking for?
Oh, it's about 3,000 squares or something, 2,000 squares. It's not that.
It's not
No.
big.
No.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe it's an action that comes out.
Well, I think we,
Yeah.
we have our notes. We're obviously in listening mode. We'll be able to look at.
Yeah. Yeah. Yesterday we were raising actions with Lynn.
It's probably worth noting that Marshland's Hill Trust had dealt with the developer who had it earmarked for housing, and then once the developer heard that there was a community facility possibly being planned in the area, actually decided to not do the housing and wait for Marshland's Hill Trust to get into a position where they might be able to purchase it. So,
Well, yeah.
which is quite rare, I would have thought.
The developer
payment, though.
has been
course.
bending over backwards to help Marshland's Hill Trust.
Yes.
It would
He's
just be-
paid for all
yeah.
the design work so far.
Yeah, it would just be useful to understand why we can't use some of the domain lane.
We'll investigate that.
Okay. And lastly is Pauline.
It's logged as a question, and I've
I'm
got it.
okay because I was kind of wondering where this bit of land was, but it's in Preston's obviously now. And also keep a record of every bit of pro bono work that's been done, because that's actually fundraising that you can add to your cause as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thank you very much for coming in. Good to see you again.